To be part, that's it. You just need to accept it.
Good morning. I'm very glad to be here, and it's my honor to participate in this conference. The title of my presentation is Building Restorative Relationships in Arab Schools in Israel, an actionable model of inclusive school practice. Well, I will start with the small story, Mahmoud's story. The background of the story, Mahmoud is ninth grade student with little interest in the learning, in his studies. He hangs out with group that negative influence on him. His father is very angry. The teacher suspects that he beats Mahmoud and demands that he sit down and study. How the school deal with him? Team of teachers discussed several times what to do with him and with the family. The teacher began to speak with Mahmoud, make a lot of conversation about his well-being, his feelings, and how she can help him and help his family. And in this conversation, mostly asked about his well-being, and later highlighted his strength and encouraged his percents in class. And then a little bit start to change, and gentle changes happen. Little by little, the student improved both academically and socially. The teacher met with the parents and told them about Mahmoud's progress. And then the following happened. The teacher, first I have to explain that we work with a teachers groups and give many cases and analyze these cases. So this teacher tell her colleagues, a few days ago, I invited Mahmoud's father to tell him about the progress of Mahmoud. And when he came to the school, he was waiting outside of the classroom. And while the teacher was dictate to the students some text, one text, the students write, but Mahmoud didn't write. So when he came outside, his father became shouted loudly and yell him in front of all the students, why you didn't write? And Mahmoud said, I didn't have time. I will take the material from one of my friends. But the father was very angry, still shouting on him and yelling him with harsh words, with harsh language. And Mahmoud didn't respond. But in that moment, his face became red and tears came to his eyes. I was afraid that the teacher told that I was afraid the father will beat him. So I take him aside and told Mahmoud to go to the bathroom and wash his face. Mahmoud didn't agree, came back to the classroom. In this moment, I turned to his father to calm him down. And I told him, Mahmoud, it's very good student. Sometimes it happens with other students. They cannot write. It's okay, but Mahmoud's father look at me angry and he go away and leave very angry the school. That's what's happened. Now, in this moment, we turn to the group of the teachers and ask, how did the teacher feel when it happened? And the second question, what would you do if you were the teacher? If you were instead of the teacher, what you can do? Usually I ask also the audience, but because we don't have time, so we collect the answers that we usually get from the teachers. And this what happened usually. The feelings of the teachers usually it's frustration, helplessness, fear, despair, shame, failed. All these really feelings usually felt the teacher, and especially this teacher told us about the helplessness. So also she had negative thoughts about the father and about herself, about the father, that this father is violent man, he's vulgar, he doesn't take care about his son, and about himself, about herself and her identity. What did I do? What did I do wrong? I'm not capable of working with people like him. All these thoughts became outside. And the actions usually, really, this teacher run away to the principal to tell him what happened, or also can think about transferring the case to welfare, or transferring even the student to another school, because no hope of these students. And usually these thinking, these thoughts and these feelings, it's very difficult, the consequences, really power struggles with the parents, between the parents and the teacher, escalating to the point of harming the child. And the child became the victim of this situation. Well, what is our mission? So we ask, what is our mission, right? The facilitator or the teacher, what is the mission of the teacher in this situation? First of all, as a facilitator and intervention facilitator from outside the school, we have to listen to what the teacher went through. Be empathic to her, not be judgmental. It's very important to give space to her emotions and to her thoughts. The second mission, to teach the teacher to be empathic to the father, and not to judge him, to see and understand his distress and the student's distress and the whole family's distress. This is these two main missions in this case. And our work principles, me and Michal principles, connecting the emotional work of teacher, empathic inquiry in groups of teachers. We make empathic inquiry with the group, and high academic standards for all students, not without differences. We used to work with a lot of strategies. The main strategies that we work by, non-abandonment, reframing, courtship, connective and empathic conversation with the students, with the parents, benevolent authority, and empathic limit setting. And also parental pride, mutual parental pride between the father and the son. So in the next slides, I will show how we really make we will present the model, but one main strategy we will show you the reframing. And the reframing, it's strategy that we use a lot in the groups of teachers. So the step one in the group, we ask about the emotions, about the thought. We give what, like what I said before, give space to feelings of teacher and her thoughts about the father. And this teacher in her group said, I felt anger, distress, and helplessness, and wanted to complain about the father, because he's very violent, doesn't appreciate my efforts. She told about the father, and I pity his son. He is a violent man and perhaps dangerous. So the next step, we ask the group and ask this teacher in the group, why do you think the father behaved like that, or the way he did? What the interpretation that you give this behavior? And the first frame of the first interpretation, the teacher said, because he is a violent father, because he is vulgar, because he has no trust on his son, etc. And negative thoughts and interpretations. And now we move to reframe this thinking and this attitude. And we ask in the third stage, what do you know, we know, or you know about the father and the family? And start to collect data and information about the father and the family. But father is unemployed. His wife is chronically ill. His socio-economic situation is very difficult. Mahmoud has 4 other younger brothers and sisters. Very difficult situation in the family. And after we hear all these informations, we go to step number 4, and the goal is to expand the frame and to see another explaining for his behavior. So why did the father behave the way he did? What other empathic, we ask, assumptions could there be? And it's assumptions. We don't know if it's right or wrong, and we start to deal with these assumptions. Maybe father himself feels like a failure, afraid of shame from society. Make sure that his son, will learn and be different from him. He was not used to hearing good things about his son and being invited to the school to hear about it. And also, I heard from this teacher that this father wanted that his son really became more success than him. And it's very important for him and to take care of his learning of studies. And the next step is to finding out the teacher's feelings again. We stop and ask, now, how do you feel if you assume the new assumptions? If these assumptions that the father feel shame and afraid or all these things, how will you feel? And in this case, the teacher said, I feel a little bit confusion, guilty. I don't know. I pity of the father, etc. And the final step is, what can you do differently now in cases like this? Now we ask about the alternative way. And the 2 strategies here in this case, first one, talk to the father to calm him down. And this suggestion from the teachers and this teacher especially, and helped by the facilitator of the group. And talk to the student for maintenance, care, and inclusion. And here also the teacher decide with whom to begin to start. And in this case, we make role playing in the group, and the teacher returned to the classroom and had a conversation with the student based on what she learned in that group. And I'll show here this conversation. The teacher, Mahmoud, I understand that you are going through difficulties at home. Mahmoud, nothing is happening at home. The teacher, when difficult things happen to us, we often don't feel like talking about it. I understand. Mahmoud, there is nothing to talk about. You know my father, but I didn't care. I don't care. The teacher, actually, I know your father. Your father cares about you, and sometimes he expresses it in an unpleasant way. I guess you care about him too, but sometimes you are also mad at him. No? Mahmoud, he comes home only to get angry, to shout. Just drop it, leave it. The teacher, what you are telling me hurts. And I would like you to know that I completely understand the pain that can sometimes cause you to be destructive in class. Here, the conversation with the empathic conversation to the student. And it's all usually we talk about we make many practice this in the group, and they play the roles and they change the roles between the teacher and the student. After that, the student became the teacher and the teacher became the student. So this is the model, and this is one example of our model. But in Arabic society, and I am a Palestinian Arab woman, Israel, from Israel, and in Arab society, there are many challenges and difficulties in working with Arab schools in Israel. First of all, Arab schools suffer from structured exclusion and have a high percentage of excluded and at-risk students. 50% of the young people in Israel in poverty and with high risk in the Arab society. This makes the teacher's work more difficult and changes the perception of his role. The other challenge is that Arab society in general and schools in particular suffer from an inferior foundation, low resources, high control, and inadequate curriculum, which causes both educators and parents to be under pressure regarding success and achievement. The schools, the Arab schools in Israel, has inferior image, a bad image. And I don't know if you know, lately we suffer from a lot of violence and a lot of very hard problems, very difficult, complicated problems. And this is make the schools also suffer around these problems, and the teachers especially. And the main challenges, the main challenge that I have with my work, the emotional discourse is not a common discourse within the Arab society, which is a society with collectivist characteristics. The connection to the inner world, the emotional world, and the legitimization of the person to speak, to talk about the emotional expression is more characteristics for individual in individual society, and it's make it hard to let the people talk and to connect to her inner world. So conclusions, we have to know that exclusion is a relationship gone wrong. And inclusion requires building restorative relationships that expand the role of the teachers as caregivers. It's the main word here, teacher as caregiver. Teachers cannot build restorative relationships with their students unless their own emotional needs are addressed. How we can ask the teacher to talk about the emotion of the teacher if he or she cannot or not used to speak about her feelings or her emotions. And dealing with the inner world of students and teachers is sometimes at odds with cultural concepts. So this is the model. The model describes the emotional work and reflection on practices necessary to ensure teacher well-being.